I'm Dr. Marcia, and we are on the couch, and I'm with
Kindra Moné.
yes, and we're gonna talk a little bit about processing grief, our
Yes.
journey.
Yeah.
Well, last year, my mom, your grandmother, Dee Dee, transitioned, went home to be with the Lord, which I'm really confident that she did just that.
Yeah.
So I was really glad about
Yeah.
that. That was a nugget of peace. That I would see her again one day.
Yeah.
But it was a journey.
Yeah.
It was so hard.
Losing Dee Dee, or Grandma. I started calling her Grandma when I was like 12. Like everybody called her Dee Dee, but I wanted to call her Grandma because I was like, I want to call her Grandma. You know, I felt like a special thing. But losing Grandma to Alzheimer's specifically was it's a long grief.
It's the long goodbye.
It's a long goodbye. And there's
I
a
call
book
it the
called
long,
The Long Goodbye, right?
yeah, there's a book called The Long Goodbye. And before I knew about the book, The Long Goodbye, I was calling it The Long Goodbye because Alzheimer's steals a little bit of the person.
It steals moments
Moments.
that you
and
do have with them.
not just moments, who they are.
Yeah.
And so I remember I would go home and visit her. And, in one visit, she's talking and she's joking. Then I would go back again and she's not joking.
Yeah.
So I had to say goodbye to her humor.
Right.
Then I would go back home again. Oh my gosh. And I would have to say goodbye to her, just telling her stories because she was a historian. She
told stories.
Yeah, and she loved African American history.
But I say Grandma made me so. I've heard some people talk about how they viewed some things as not for Black people, or that they had a personal struggle with their identity as African American. And I was like, Grandma made me feel like it was the coolest thing in the world. I was like, what? This is lit. I'm lucky because she just had so many Black history books and was just so proud of it. I remember when we went to New York, I kind of lost it when we got back in the car. It was like the first time she kind of had an episode that wasn't friendly. And then after
it was
that,
it
was during the holidays. And she got confused about the date.
Yeah.
She was kind of back in school, her school teacher years. And then the next time I went, she didn't remember my name. And
so so that's why you have to realize you have to let that piece go.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that towards the end of her life, it was a big conflict because I wanted her to be healed and I wanted her to be whole, but I wish I saw her more. She was in New Jersey, I was in New York, but it was so painful to go see her.
Yeah. So you
but
avoid it.
I should have done it for her because she knew.
Yeah, to avoid it is because Alzheimer's. All disease is ugly.
Yeah.
And so
no matter what it is.
And so the ugliness was that it was still her. So it became a very painful visit.
Yeah.
So what I realized after processing, because you do, hindsight is 20/20, and you look back when you realize that person's no longer with you, you wish you could have done more.
Right. You always do.
Always.
Even if you did the most,
right.
You would wish you'd done more.
Yeah. And so you have to kind of like, in processing it, you get to that place, you realize you would have wanted to do more no matter how much you did.
Right. So how were you able to continue to go on about with
Life.
ministry and with feeding into other people?
Oh my gosh. Well, when she died, we were in the midst of that month. It was August 6th. And we were having our women's conference in a couple of weeks. So that was challenging for me. And I think, because it was a long goodbye, I had many conversations with God to help me along the way before she transitioned. And so which I love God. He, even though I was believing God for Grandma to be healed. I knew it was inevitable. She was going to die. We all will die one day. But I didn't want the disease to take her.
Yeah.
So I was believing that she would be healed and then she would just transition through old age, but that did not happen. So I never forget, when I was thinking about her transition, because it's the long goodbye, the Lord's like, when you hear that news, when have a moment, just release it. Don't forget
Yeah.
about who's around. And so when I got the word, we was in church. It was an end of church service, and I'll never forget when I saw my phone that Aunt Kathy called. I knew what it was. So when I got the call, I could care less who was around. I just let it out.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I did.
So did I.
You know,
But I was on the sidewalk.
because it's not a good look, but you can't be concerned about how you look regarding with other people. This is so personal. It's so between you and that person or your family. So I just let it out, and that helped me out. And I never forget. I knew we had to take that flight, and the Lord said, "Get your playlist of songs and teachings that you enjoy, and get a journal."
Mm-hmm.
And so because we had to plan the funeral and I had to travel to New Jersey, I was in New Jersey for over a week.
Yeah.
So every day I would spend that time with God, and I would journal. And I still have that journal.
So
I'm going to do something with that journal, because every day I wrote, in every feeling, every thought,
Wow.
every word that I heard regarding that, I wrote it down.
So you journaled, but you were intentional.
I was very intentional.
You set a process for your grief.
I did. Because I
You
realized
have to actively
the reason that I could not allow grief to suck me because I saw it was like a black hole.
It's a slippery slope.
It really
It
is.
can take people out.
Right. And I realized my children, my grandchildren, and then the women, the ministry. And I realized the grief is you being snatched little by little to the place where you think the other person is. It's how you hold on to the one you love.
Yeah.
And because missing grandma, I was like, if I stay in grief, I'm remembering her. I'm with her. Then I'm leaving everyone else.
The first moments of happiness, almost after grief, you almost feel a little guilty for them.
You do. And so I realized that I had to choose which side I was going to be on. And I said, I said, if I stay there, I said, what am I leaving for my kids? And, what holiday will they have if I'm there? Mm-hmm. What birthday I was in celebrating if they would have with me if I'm there?
Right.
So I chose the living. Mm-hmm. And then I heard Grandma's voice saying, Marcia, come on.
Yeah.
Take care of your kids. She would always say that. Every time I felt like I could not be with her, she said, Marcia, take care of your kids.
Wow.
So she was like, no, I understand, but you got to be there for your kids. You got to be there, go do what you need to do. Take care of your home. So she always, even with that guilt, she always released me.
Wow.
So it's like I was continuously reminded, of what she wanted me to do.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's what you have to do.
Yeah, so I didn't feel guilty. I felt sad.
Right.
Can you imagine guilt and sadness together?
Yeah, it's
oh
too
my
much.
gosh, it's horrible. So, and she kept, Lord's like, which side you going to be on? Mm-hmm. You're going to be with her or with the living? So it was a black hole, like a slippery slope. Mm-hmm. And I saw like Star Wars, like the time portal, that you have a time element to jump through there.
Uh-huh.
Unless you're stuck.
Wow.
And know what the Lord told me is coming back to me. He said, you're gonna be on this side with the living, but you will have to have deliverance if you don't come now. Mm-hmm. He said, I'm gonna have to send people to come get you.
Got you.
So come now, and we can go through this process together, or come later, and I'm gonna have to send in a crew to bring you out and deliver you. And I said, so I jumped through that hole. I remember it's like I literally
jumped through the portal.
I did. I jumped right through it, so it wouldn't keep me stuck on the other side.
That's good.
So I write.
I think grief is a long process,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that when it's someone that's really dear to you, it's funny, it's an episode of Blackish, but they were talking about how in America, you put up maybe your one Facebook post, you don't want to do social media grief, so you don't want to do it too much.
I did not do that.
But like, even still, we don't give ourselves allowance. We don't give ourselves the time, the forgiveness to go through the process, and because of that, it can make it be unhealthy. Like when Taina passed,
you had a lot of people.
Yeah, so Taina, 2016 was like a crazy year. So Taina, she was one of my best friends from high school. We met in preseason, and we were attached since then.
She was
at
hilarious.
the house all the time, and
For
this girl
life.
was bigger than life.
She was.
Anyone who knows Taina Laporte knows she was bigger than life. So Valentine's Day 2016, she was driving to go see her boyfriend, hit an 18-wheeler, died. And I think that because, unfortunately, a lot of people in my school died that year, and so I was overwhelmed by grief, but it was also becoming normalized. So I felt like I wasn't supposed to feel so much grief. So I don't think I totally coped in a healthy way all the time. So, and it also was around the time when I was with that crazy job situation.
Yeah.
So
You had a lot.
I had a lot going on, and I think
And you
that-
weren't home.
Oh, I know.
I hated that
I
so
know.
much.
I wasn't home. I know. I came home
She
for the
was
funeral.
you were by yourself.
But what did I do? I got this tattoo. I got this tattoo. I went out to eat the next day. I was like, keep me busy, keep me busy. I started partying. I was numb.
You was partying?
And I was partying.
In New
Not
York?
crazy
In
partying,
New York?
but
Partying in
I
New
was
York.
I needed, when I was down, I felt so down, so I was just trying to stimulus. I didn't allow myself to really go through the feelings until probably the next year, when I was
Wow.
really started to healthily process my feelings, when I realized I like talking about her, so and I started talking about her and letting it be an okay thing. So for me, realize talking it out was a good thing, because it helped me give grounding to my feelings, rather than just trying to avoidance and just not thinking about it. Because for me, that was an unhealthy spiral. I stopped taking care of myself and just started to sort of just go everywhere with it. But when you talk about it, you're allowed, because you need to realize what your natural instincts are. I was like, okay, so now I know, okay, when I have a disappointment or a grief, I like to overstimulate myself, whether that's eating or going out or just never being alone. And that's not always good, because I'm avoiding what I'm really feeling.
Right.
So now that I know that, I can say, okay, and I spend money that I don't have.
Yeah.
So now that I know about
Oh my
so
goodness.
now that I know about that, I'm like, okay, Kindra,
Shopping therapy.
you're grieving. It is not time to shop. What do you want? You're feeling, you want newness. How can I get newness in a healthy way? Let me do a new workout class that I've never done before. Because what you're using and what you need are often different in grief,
Wow.
unless you're doing it the right way.
That's
Does that
good
make
stuff.
sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a process, and
It
you
is
have
a
to give yourself
process.
grace.
Yeah.
And you just have to, I think for me, I would hear Taina's voice too. And, but it's the good things. It's the good things that they kept you with. Unfortunately, this is life. And
It is part of life.
It's part of life. It's an ugly part of life, but it's real. So what can we take from it? What I take from her is that girl went for everything with 100%. And she left everybody with a little imprint of her. So whenever I would feel down, I would literally hear her be like, girl, what you crying about? Like, you miss me? Like, I would hear her silly voice in my head and just say, let me carry on her light.
Cool.
So we have to process.
It's a process. Grief is a process. So, thank you for joining us. Processing grief
Processing grief.
on the
talking it
couch.
out on the couch.